Time is ticking for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's about time that they do something. With free agency coming to a close, all the top guys already off their board, they might want to consider a trade. So I want to talk about the 3 guys I'd consider to trade off the Eagles. Let's get into it.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? This is your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today I want to talk about the 3 guys I would consider highly trading if I was the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 4K, and we would love for you guys to join that ride. Now, let's just hop right into this. So the first guy I want to talk about is going to be a very obvious one. I think a lot of people have been talking about this, and it's going to be Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's stock is rising by the day. As many quarterbacks go off the board, his stock continues to rise, and he becomes one of those that are one of the better that are left over. So maybe a team like the Colts, if they strike out on a couple guys, maybe a team like Houston, if they strike out on some other guys. So we have to keep a very, very dead set lock eye on what happens with Gardner Minshew. What do I think that his realistic value is? I think he's somewhere around a 4th, maybe 5th round pick, which is awesome. I mean, we got him for a conditional 7th, so I'm cool with that. If we can get a 4th, maybe 5th for him, I think that that's a huge upgrade. Gives us more draft capital, which, you know, the rich get richer. I'd love that. And it just gets a guy that, you know, honestly has still some years in him that he can prove he can be a starter in him. So I don't think that it's really fair, if you don't believe he's the guy of the future for the Philadelphia Eagles, to keep him locked up as our backup. You know, if he's not going to see the field, it does nothing for him this year. So I think his value right now is as high as it will ever be. Gardner Minshew's numbers do not lie. I know a lot of people hate him and think that he's not a great quarterback. I'm not saying he's the best, but I think that he's a very, very solid quarterback. Is he a starter? I think that's what he has to prove, you know, and I just don't think he'll be able to prove it in Philadelphia. I don't think that they're really open to a competition. I think that they are trying to hand the keys to Jalen and see what happens. So realistically, I think that Gardner Minshew is the top guy I'm looking at right now to go on and trade. The next name on my list is actually a guy I really don't want to see the Philadelphia Eagles move on from, but I have to be realistic. You know, draft picks and assets are what has to be high on our list, and this is a guy that might be able to get you a player in return. You know, we need a wide receiver, we need a linebacker, we need some defensive help. This might be a guy that can go ahead and add to a package and help you get somebody that's a premier guy now, and that is Dillard. The reason why I don't necessarily want to give up on Dillard is because I think that, you know, having that talent, having that depth at your line position, especially at that age, is just honestly a luxury to have. And that's another reason why I think that it is possible that he's a guy that could move on, because it is just a luxury. But, you know, offensive line, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen a lot of guys unfortunately get hurt. We've seen a lot of guys coming in and out of that lineup. And Dillard, if he is your swing tackle, if he's your backup left tackle, I think you can do a lot worse, right? And, you know, the one thing I will say is that we do have Jeff Stoutland, right? So Jeff Stoutland has been a wizard with these guys. So if you go ahead and get somebody in this draft, it's very valuable that you can replace what Dillard brings to this team, especially if you're looking at like a 4th, 5th round guy. That you know, you look at Jordan Mailata, he was able to be developed from a guy that never played football into a starting left tackle who just got a bag, right? And he's playing at a pretty high level, for being 100% honest. All you got to do, get this guy some guys with some athleticism, get this guy that had some size, and I think Jeff Stoutland will do the rest. So, you know, while it does pain me to see good talent, especially on the offensive line, go, it might be a name that, you know, teams look at, and like we talk about the Jaguars, right? We talk about Laviska Shenault. What if you send them a package with Dillard and a draft pick, and maybe you can get their 2nd round pick and a Laviska Shenault? Maybe you can, you know, kind of figure something out like that. Maybe you move one of your 5th round picks into a 4th round pick, or into a 3rd round pick with the addition of Dillard. So there's a lot of things that you can do in that situation. So while I don't want to sit here and say that Dillard has to go, because I don't think that he has to go, I know a lot of people might disagree with me there, maybe an unpopular opinion, but it's okay. I have a lot of those. He's not a guy I need to see go or want to see go. He's just a realistic option that might be traded. All right, for number 3, you guys might want to sit down with me on this one. I'm going to say a name that, honestly, this might be the farthest fetched thing in the world, but I'm putting a tinfoil hat on here, so put it on with me real quick. But I'm going to say Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox just reworked his whole contract. Fletcher Cox is now on a 1-year, $14 million deal. The one thing that continuously we heard in trade conversations with Fletcher Cox is that his contract is what really held teams away. Now, I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm not saying that this should happen. I'm not saying that this will happen. But connect the dots with me for a second. We just made his contract way more viable for a team that's looking to win now. He's shown some interest in going forward to a team like the Chiefs or going to pair up with another guy as a last resort for his career. Now, I'm on the side that he wants to retire as an Eagle. That's how I feel. But this could have all been just a deal in order to make his value a little bit more. Now a team might offer a 2nd-round pick. Now a team might offer a 1st-round pick for a guy that can go ahead and bring them to a championship. We've seen the LA Rams do it. Does a Bengals type team, does whoever it may be. I'm trying to think of teams that are just right there. Maybe a Titans feel like they're a defensive tackle away. Maybe a team that lost a defensive tackle calls the Eagles up and says, hey, we got a 1st, we got a 2nd for you. Do you say no to that? I don't know if you can. So I'm not saying that he will. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he should. And I'm not saying I hope he does. Just think of that for a second. Just think of that. Is Fletcher Cox now, with that contract, a little bit more trade baity than before? I don't know. But you guys let me know who you think should be traded off of the Philadelphia Eagles. I know a name I left off of this list. So I expect to see Jalen Reagor in this list so we can start that conversation. So somebody comment Jalen Reagor below so we can just start that conversation about what we even think his trade value would be, because that was my whole thing of leaving him off this list. But you guys let me know what you're thinking. Other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Yeah. Fly Eagles fly, you on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season here, really time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.